Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hey, I'm DJ Ross. I am in Mountain View, California.
Each week on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. On this week's show, that list includes Wavetale and Give Me Toilet Paper.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I just want to be clear that that is the name of a video game.
Oh, you weren't just interjecting?
And not a request. No, yeah.
Suddenly you realized.
We will also check back in on Like a Dragon Ishin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is just my life now.
DJ has played 30 more hours and is up to 1%.
I think I'm a little past 1%. I've played a surprising number of hours, though.
Okay.
It's astonishing.
That is my association with the Like a Dragon game. I've only played the one, but I remember losing an entire Sunday to Like a Dragon 7 at one point, going, what happened?
Yeah.
I just woke up, I feel like, and now the sun is going down again, and... Yeah. Good.
That's the experience, yeah.
Excellent. Magically tuned these games to just make days disappear.
Oh, man.
So how's it going? How's life on the West Coast?
It's good. I was very sad this weekend because I had no internet. Or not no internet, but my internet was not cooperating with me.
Oh, no.
Which was disappointing because I had lined up, this is very unusual for me, I had lined up a whole list of games that I wanted to stream, and my ISP was not having it. So I tried to do a stream, and it was just like a slideshow. So I couldn't continue, and I'm trying to just get everything fixed. So I have enough internet to do this show, fortunately, but not to do the fun streaming thing I had planned for last weekend.
Oh, well, that's a bummer.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating. I imagine, it's not like I'm doing this full time or anything, so that's just kind of makes it even more frustrating because it's so irregular that I actually do stream something. Like the one weekend I'm planning on it, it's just I can't get everything to line up. But man, I don't know what the pros do. I wonder if they have just the secret like backup internet connections so they're always ready to go, or what the deal is.
What is Mr. Beast's at-home internet solution? Yeah.
Oh, jeez, that guy.
Yeah. At this point, I think he can pay people to just hand carry internet to his house.
Yeah, he's probably just got his own ISP or like some other ISP that he's just rebranded as his own ISP. I think that's how that works. But man, I do still have all these fun little like indie games that I'm planning to stream at some point, so I will try and let everybody know when it's happening for real, but
cool.
Probably not for the foreseeable future. I'm really not living up to my my Twitch affiliate position or whatever it was that happened last year.
Can they take it away? Do you if you don't stream enough, do you like backslide to whatever mine is? Randy Dickinson introductory, special introductory offer.
It's like Twitch normie. I think I looked
Twitch.
Into this.
Who's this guy?
It's like who? No, when I was like, you have to go through this whole process to activate it. So I was like doing some research before I signed up because I was like, I think this is probably not going to be sustainable because I only got promoted to this because of Extra Life,
right?
And there was some line in there that's like, after a year of being an affiliate, they will reevaluate your account and see if how much you've been keeping up with it. At that point, I just thought, well, it seems very likely that it will not continue for me because it's such a fluke. But I'm just going to try it out and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So,
well, cool.
Really not fulfilling that up to this point. It's been a few months, but who knows?
In a year, they call you in before the review boards and you have to plead your case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, no contest.
Please, sir.
Whatever they say. Oh.
Well, cool. At least one of us has the prestige of being a Twitch affiliate.
I don't know how prestigious it is. I mean, it's not like it's whatever, like Twitch partner or whatever. I'm like assistant.
Is that
to
the next
Twitch
tier?
Partner.
Yeah.
Twitch partner is what you actually want. That's like the real tier.
Gotcha.
So,
Vice president in charge of Minecraft.
Oh man, that'd be a good gig. How do I get that?
Probably pays pretty well if I had to guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Except it only pays in like Minecraft diamonds or something.
Mm.
Hmm.
You have to spend them at the Minecraft company store.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Minecraft company towns.
Cool. So what's on that list of little indie games?
Oh, what was on the list? There's this new one came out about, I think it's like an elephant. It's like a kind of isometric platformer. I'm going to bring back Spooky Saturday, play some spooky games that have been on my list. There is a surprise sort of like half VR game. I still don't have a VR set, so it's not actually going to be in VR, but really looking forward to trying that one out. But like I said, the stream is still sort of in limbo, so we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, I'll cross my fingers and hope for your internet.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very frustrating. I should mention, though, that for the short period that I was able to stream, it shows ads on my stream now. That's like part of just being an affiliate. And right. I have it on good authority that one of them was for Taco Bell. So when I heard that, I was just like, that's it. I've done it. We were saying like the length of the show, like we just want that Taco Bell sponsorship.
Yep.
And, again, not exactly that, but I felt sort of accomplished in that moment.
Well, mission accomplished. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Can't wait to get my, a nickel or probably significantly less than that for however they made on that ad. Oh, man.
Well, if we had the Video Game Hangover Army click through that ad for you, you might do okay. We can do a call to action for the Video Game Hangover. Yeah. Community.
To turn that into a real taco.
Yeah. If we get enough clicks, DJ gets one taco.
That's my Patreon. It's going to be like the $1 tier is like whatever that cheesy roll-up thing is. Then you can get the soft taco tier and then like the crunch wrap tier. This could be a thing, right? We could make this happen.
Yeah, I believe in that. Absolutely.
Oh, man.
I have a stretch goal for a cheesy gordita crunch.
Yeah, I was going to say like the party box or whatever that is.
Oh, right. That's the platinum tier, yeah.
Yeah, just sit down and eat an entire one of those on stream. It'd be good.
Excellent.
Anyway, now that was my weekend, just doing tech support for myself. It was awful. That and a lot of Yakuza Ishin, whatever that game is called.
Cool. So, do you want to start with that? What's going on in the world of Like a Dragon?
Actually, well, I should lead into what I was able to stream for a little bit, which was Give Me Toilet Paper.
Oh, okay, cool.
So have you seen this at all? This came onto my radar very late last week.
I have never heard of it.
Okay. It's amazing. It was brought to my attention. Somebody just like tweeted about it saying like, stop whatever you're doing. Here's the like 2023's Game of the Year candidate. It's called Give Me Toilet Paper. And I was like, great, that sounds like a game I want to play. The premise of the game is there's this kind of like Japanese businessman looking guy, and he's run out of toilet paper. He's in a dire situation. And it's just like this kind of low poly, like Virtua Fighter model of this guy sitting in a bathroom. And you need to deliver him some toilet paper, which drops down from the top of the screen. But, it's not that simple just to get this guy the toilet paper that he needs. You have to roll it through essentially a maze of obstacles and hazards and ensure that it reaches him in one piece. So you have to avoid, all the classic sort of traps like buzzsaws and these like trapdoors and lasers and all that good stuff. Until it finally falls into his hand. And this is the Switch game, and this is the genius hook of this thing, is that you don't play this by using the control stick or the buttons or anything. What you do is you take one of the Joy-Cons off your Switch, and then you place it into an actual roll of toilet paper, which you then roll back and forth on like a board or a long piece of cardboard. And it uses whatever it is, like the gyroscope, the accelerometer, one of those things that's in the Joy-Con,
yep,
to sort of determine how the toilet paper roll is moving like back and forth on the board, and you like guide it past these obstacles using that as the controller. So it's sort of like, what's that game with the marble? It's like Labyrinth or something. You know what I'm talking about?
Marble Madness?
Not Marble Madness, but you're controlling the tilt of the board, and the goal is to get the marble into one of the holes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's not like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a video game. Sorry.
Yep.
It's similar to that, except, it's only going from side to side, and it's a roll of toilet paper. And I thought, well, okay, so this, what a silly concept for a game. The guy on the toilet, already very silly, and the fact that you control it using an actual roll of toilet paper, genius. So I decided, okay, why not? Let's do it. Let's do it on the stream. I'll assemble this, toilet paper controller. I had just purchased some IKEA furniture, so I had an enormous, cardboard box that I can cut up. So I did it, and it turns out is actually so good.
Oh, really?
It takes a little bit of calibration, which is, I'll come back to this. This is maybe my only issue with it. But once you get it going, it's surprisingly intuitive being able to roll this thing back and forth. Because, if you can imagine, you're holding up a board or a piece of cardboard, and it's just sort of propped up in your hands, and you just have to carefully slide it. Because ideally, you're not really touching the toilet paper, right? You're just letting gravity kind of do its thing.
Right.
And then, just learning how to really precisely tilt the board in order to get it to stop, or sometimes you need to get it to stop in the middle of the floor so it can drop through a grate. It requires a lot of precision. The difficulty ramps up surprisingly fast once you get past the initial sort of waves of buzzsaws and the kind of the simple traps and everything. But man, it was so good. I was so thrilled. I don't know if you had this reaction, when the Wii U came out. I was mildly disappointed that, I know a lot of people were disappointed when the Wii U came out, but for other reasons. I was disappointed because they kind of moved away from the whole, the Wiimote proper kind of control schemes that they were trying out with the Wii. And it was all about the gamepad and more sort of traditional controls, but it felt like in the process we just lost sort of that weird experimental spirit. Suddenly, anything can be a controller as long as you can slot a Wiimote into it. And I felt like I kind of thought maybe we would see a resurgence of that with the Switch, because it had these funny little mini Wiimotes on either side.
Yeah.
That you can just break off and do whatever with. But I haven't really seen that in a lot of games. Until now. Until Give Me Toilet Paper. I thought, wow, somebody is finally using the Joy-Cons to do a weird thing that not many other games have done until now. Yeah.
And it involves cardboard if you do it on a cardboard box, so it's almost like sort of the lost levels of Labo.
I know. That's what I thought when I was cutting up this cardboard box. It's wait a minute. I should just cut up that stupid bazooka that I still have sitting in my living room.
I've got a bazooka or a VR helmet here somewhere made out of cardboard.
Yeah, so you should repurpose that Labo set. Oh, that would be poetic. But yeah, I'm surprised that I just haven't seen a lot of stuff like this sort of pop up, or maybe I just haven't been keeping a good eye out for it.
Right.
But it's sort of like the Labo thing. It was just kind of fun to put together this weird toilet paper controller. It wasn't nearly as involved as making anything with the Labo set, but it was just kind of a fun 5-minute project that you have to do to play this game.
It's funny that the listing for this game in the eShop includes an image of a mannequin holding a piece of cardboard with a roll of toilet paper in the middle and a Wiimote not a Wiimote, I'm sorry, a Joy-Con jammed inside of it.
Yeah. Well, it walks you through how to assemble the controller before you start the game.
Does a Joy-Con fit exactly inside of a toilet paper roll, or do you have to squeeze the toilet paper to make room for it?
Well, so that's the thing. Before you even start it up, it says, what you'll need for this game. You'll need a plank or a piece of cardboard or whatever. You need a toilet paper roll, and you'll need 2 tissues. I was like, wait a minute, what are the tissues for? But you just, you jam those into the roll as well. So it really like lodges the Joy-Con in there.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, very simple. Should have all
huh.
that stuff just around the house or whatever.
My brain is thinking that though, like not all toilet paper is created equal. Like some are
Yes.
like the double size rolls, and some of them are.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, you could have a roll of toilet paper with no toilet paper on it, and it's still just a tube, and that would travel at a different sort of rate and speed than a full roll.
Yeah. So this is my thing. This is what I alluded to, where I was like, not sure about the calibration of this thing.
Oh, this is the calibration. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is a calibration option in the game. But as I was putting this together, I had the same sort of thoughts. I was like, you have kind of the like Platonic ideal of what a toilet paper roll is and how big it is. But I feel like you can't buy those anymore. Or at least in my experience, I go to the store and I guess they definitely sell them, but those aren't the ones I buy because you get like, the double size ones, which are supposedly more economical or whatever, and they're huge.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I had on hand, and I just thought, okay, so it's probably, I don't know how differently this is going to behave compared to how you would expect a regular sized toilet paper roll to work, but we're going to try it. But then the other thing is that, like, the roll, when you take it fresh out of the package, it's like not really perfectly round, right? It's like maybe squished a little bit.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, so that was just another thing. And I was realizing this as I started to play because it would roll a little bit, but then because there would be like almost corners on it, it would have these really irregular sort of like spurts. It would like speed up quickly and become very chaotic. So
is that a bug or a feature? Is that
I don't know.
That's your difficulty level. That's how you get.
Yeah, I mean it's like a handicap. You're like too good at this game, so here's a weirdly shaped toilet paper roll for you to try it.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought, oh man, I don't want to go out and buy like 12 more rolls of toilet paper, like just scour the shelves looking for that one perfectly cylindrical roll of toilet paper.
I mean, that's good content, though, DJ. Now that you're a Twitch affiliate, you really need to start thinking of like, what creative things can I put on Twitch to get viewers? That's how you do it. Just test drive a bunch of different types of TP. Yeah.
Yeah, like strapped on my GoPro and head over to the supermarket, be like, let's find the perfect toilet paper roll.
Yep, you got it.
Oh man, but I just felt in the back of my head like I'm not having the 100% intended give me toilet paper experience because of this weird misshapen roll that I've got to deal with. But overall, that aside, I had a great time with it until, the stream sort of self-destructed. But because it's just like, it's a silly arcade game essentially. And it's got this wacky controller, which, I don't want to play every single game that comes out using a roll of toilet paper. Or maybe I do. Maybe somebody will come up with an amazing sequel to this that just takes this controller in new directions you could never imagine. But it was just super fun to play a weird Switch game like this. It kind of made me think, like we just talked about a couple of weeks ago, all the weird stuff that would come out for like the DS that was more of a novelty for a few hours and not sort of the, a longer modern experience.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I think you and I had at one point, sort of when the Switch was being teased, we had thought of like all these sort of potential weird peripherals. And I think one of us had pitched like the possibility of like, oh, what if it was a fishing game and the right Joy-Con was like a reel on a fishing pole? So yeah, we had clearly had far greater aspirations for possible peripherals for the Switch than maybe Nintendo even had. So yeah,
I think everybody did.
Interesting that somebody has taken it to its natural conclusion by just jamming it into the center of a roll.
Yes, really the final evolution of the video game controller. Just stick it in a roll of toilet paper. It's great.
Can you use paper towels? Oh, is paper towels the sequel? Give me paper towels.
I feel like that would be, you need a larger play field for it. You need like a huge slab of cardboard or whatever. I was trying to think like, would it be easier if the controller was larger? So maybe you'd have finer control over it, or would you want a smaller one? But I feel like the small one would get out of control very quickly.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a whole new realm of possibility surrounding this game.
Interesting.
I'm so glad it exists. I should mention, so this was designed by Takahiro Miyazawa, who he's just an indie sort of game developer, and he does not have a lot of games on the eShop at the moment. He just has I think the only other things on there are several flavors of sort of like a columns / like luminous game, like a puzzle game.
Oh, interesting.
That he's got on there. But apparently, so he's made a bunch of these, I was going to say similar, kind of like similarly inventive games that all have weird ideas for a controller. So that's kind of his thing. He has a game where it looks like you're just flicking a pair of glasses onto people as they cross an intersection. And then there's one that's all these previews are in Japanese, so I couldn't tell exactly what was going on, but people were trying to pull a sword out of a stone. And then there was one where you were climbing up a rope, and instead of a controller, you were actually tugging on this sort of weird rope controller that he had come up with somehow. But I'll put a link to his website in the show post because it's worth watching a couple of those trailers because they're so funny. But anyway, I really hope that it seems like this is getting a little bit of traction online already. The Give Me Toilet Paper, that is. So I hope this is just the first of, a wave of this guy's weird Switch games that use the Joy-Cons in new and unexpected ways.
Man, I hope this is the big weird game everybody's playing at PAX.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. There was what was that game a couple of years ago? I think it used the PlayStation Move controllers, and you had to sort of carry it very still, and you had to walk across a play field, and you could only sort of replicate this in a bigger room with other players and stuff like that, and you couldn't jostle or disturb the move. So whatever year that was at PAX East, there were people just, wherever there was a big, corner of the show floor or in one of the playrooms, you people playing this thing on a PlayStation. And I feel like, this is kind of one of those things that is best sort of replicated with a big audience and a lot of people cheering you on.
Yeah, it would be extremely good as a crowd game.
Yeah.
That was Johann Sebastian Joust you were talking about.
There you go. That's it.
Man, I bought so many of those stupid Move controllers for that game.
For that game?
Yeah, I mean, because what else are you going to do with a Move controller?
There was eventually a collection that got built into, right? Wasn't there a...
Yeah, it was in Sports Friends or whatever that was.
Sports, yeah. Wow, you're good at this game.
Well, I played it.
Where I briefly describe a shitty explanation of a video game I remember from a few years ago, and you know what that game is.
Well, that's why I'm here.
I think we've found the structure for our 600th episode, DJ.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, what was the name of that game?
I give you a crappy description of something I vaguely remember, and it might not even be a video game, and you know what it is.
Yeah, it's that was, you ate that for lunch last week.
Right. Oh, that was an episode of a TV show from 16 years ago, Randy.
Yeah, that wasn't a video game.
Right. That was that dream you had that one time, and you explained to me for an hour.
What was that video game I played with the the long trunk and the tusks? Well, that was an elephant.
Oh, Just Cause 2.
Just Cause 2. Oh, man. Been thinking about Just Cause 2 lately.
Have you?
I mean, yeah. More than
not a day goes by that you don't think of Bolo Santosi.
I think it was because I was watching... this is terrible. I was watching someone from Singapore stream on Twitch, and he had the accent, and I was just like, oh, I love it. But then it just made me sad because I don't think you can play Just Cause 2 on any modern platforms. You can probably play it on Xbox. You can play everything on Xbox, but it doesn't help me. But anyway, that was quite a tangent.
We've detoured. I apologize. Paper.
It's out for the Switch, man. It's great if you're into just weird offbeat stuff. It's so hard to just find weird indie games like this in the eShop. I don't know when the last time you tried to browse the eShop was, but it is a disaster.
It is not great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible. So I'm grateful that this was brought to my attention. I'm trying to, make more people aware of it so they can also have a good time with, an extra roll of toilet paper that you have sitting around.
Nice. I do want to point out on DJ's behalf that this game is only $5.
Yeah. So, what's your excuse?
Yep. The barrier to entry is very low. Plus the cost of toilet paper, of course.
You do need a big piece of cardboard, but I'm sure, you can scrounge that up somehow.
It's one roll of toilet paper. How much could it cost? $20?
Exactly. Oh, man.
Well, that's exciting. I don't know if I would love this or hate this. I'm intrigued by it, though.
It's definitely worth playing through a few levels, I think.
Yeah.
Just so, Sarah can walk in you and just be like, what is going on here?
This would be just, it would be a very awkward thing to be caught doing without context. Yeah.
It's like, what does it look like I'm doing?
Right.
Trying to get this guy the toilet paper.
Yeah. And try not to use foul language because I'm on Twitch.
Yeah. I was worried because I was streaming this and I was just like, is this going to be, like, am I going to get banned from Twitch from this? Like, how much of this guy does it show on the toilet? And it's mostly like PG-13. It's fine.
At least it appears that he's wearing a business suit on the toilet.
Yeah. He's, in the middle of his workday or something like that. I'm not sure what's going on.
Nice.
When the toilet paper roll finally reaches him, he grabs it, and on the screen in huge letters, it just says, "Get you," in sort of proud, English tradition. But, it's great to see that once you're finally able to complete a stage.
Fantastic. Good times.
Really good. Really good. All right. What is next on the list? What have you been playing? And does it involve a roll of toilet paper?
It does not. No, I'm sad that it doesn't. And I'm trying to sort of imagine how you would integrate that, and I can't quite pull it together. So, I've been playing Wavetale, which is a fun newish indie game. I say newish because it was actually a Stadia exclusive for a long time.
Oh man!
And perhaps you've heard.
Yeah.
If not, let me break the news. Stadia doesn't exist anymore. So some of those games now are seeing the light of day on other platforms, and this is one of them. Developed by Thunderful, which is the folks that have gone on in the past to make the SteamWorld games, which is a big sort of Thunderful collective now. They've got a bunch of different studios kind of under the same roof and are making things that are not just SteamWorld games. They're making other indie games as well.
Wait, is this the publisher? Because I thought the developer, or they changed names or something, right?
They did change names. I forget what they were before when they were just a developer, but they are a publisher now too. And they have a bunch of in-house studios.
Okay.
Zoink was one of them. I forget what the other ones were called though, but there's a handful of them now, all under this. They call it the Thunderful Group. This is a weird little inside baseball tangent, but yeah. So they make and publish their own video games now, which is really cool. They did Lost in Random, they did Flipping Death, and a few other ones that I can't quite think of off the top of my head right now. But the new one, I guess newish one here, is Wavetale. And the hook here is that it's sort of a semi-open world kind of exploration game. It feels a little bit like I guess like a Zelda game, it feels. But just because you're on the high seas, it feels a little bit like Wind Waker. That's the name of the Zelda game. What's the Zelda game, DJ, from a few years ago? It feels like Wind Waker.
Where you're on the high seas?
Where you're on the high seas.
Well, I was going to say, it's funny that you say that it feels like a Zelda game because you're on a boat, because as far as I know, that was just the one. Oh, wait, no, that wasn't one of the DS games he was also on a boat?
One of them he was in a train. That's Spirit Tracks, yeah.
Right. But then there was another one.
I don't remember a boat.
Well, anyway, it feels like a Zelda game.
Feels only in that way. It feels like sort of you're getting around as if it were a Zelda game. There's no dungeons or anything like that. It looks a little bit like Wind Waker in that it's similar kind of cell shaded, lots of bright primary colors and stuff like that. It's kind of beautifully animated game here, and yeah, so you're a teenage girl. You live in like a sunken world. There has been some calamity that has happened, and much of what the world was before is currently underwater. And you and your grandmother live in a little archipelago of islands separated by big chunks of ocean. And everybody's afraid to go in the water. There's some other mysterious story there. And people are, get around by boat, but nobody's allowed to go swimming or, stay away from the water. Your grandmother sort of warns you, don't you go in that water. And through some chain of mysterious events, you get the ability to walk and then sort of glide/surf barefoot on the water. And you are now the key to being able to sort of unlock the mystery of to why we're underwater and what happened to your family and why everybody lives on islands now, and et cetera, et cetera. And you get a series of missions and you zip around and go from island to island and, in a lot of ways kind of do little collectathons, flip these switches and unlock these cabinets and, find mysterious treasure and collect, what do they call them? Sparks in the game, which are little like energy blobs that float in the environment. And you can bring them back to power up lighthouses, which banish the gloom, which are the clouds surrounding the island. And it gives you a bigger play field to play on and more places that you can kind of like windsurf and zip around to, lather, rinse, repeat from there. And yeah, it's cool. It's a lot of exploration. It's a little bit of puzzle solving. The bad guys are sort of pirates, but they have controls over like weird, mysterious monsters that come out of the gloom. And some of them look like big insects, and some of them look like giant, long-legged octopus that sort of walk on the water. And you get engaged in kind of battles with them and stuff like that. But it's a pretty simplistic kind of 2-button, light-heavy attacks. Nothing puts up a huge fight, really. Even some of the big boss battles are pretty approachable. Man, I don't think I've died once in this entire game.
So more about the sort of exploration than being a combat-based game, then.
Yeah, I mean, it does put up a bit of combat, and that was one of the things sort of like as I was thinking sort of pros and cons of this game is like, if you're going to put combat in the game, at least make it a little more interesting. Give me a little more variety in some of the enemies that I'm fighting. And you really, I think, man, I have a few hours into this thing, and I've only seen 3 types of enemies. They more or less all can be kind of like banished with a couple of hits from you have a fishing net is your like weapon in the game. You whack things with a fishing net. And even 3 of the big bugs will come up and try to attack you, but they'll patiently wait their turn while you kill their friends. And then take their turn to get killed. So yeah, they don't put up a ton of fight. The big octopus strider type things are really cool because you can see them coming from a while away, far away, and they're kind of ominous looking. And you eventually get the ability to have like a hook shot that allows you to like cast a zip line up to them, and you pull yourself up to like their octopus head, and then you whack them with a fishing rod, and then you're back in the water, and you kind of zip around the water and stuff like that, and zip under their legs and try to avoid their attacks. They're shooting like ink at you and stuff like that. So the challenges are more about kind of getting around and using the tools that you have to like hook shot, and you can spin the net above your head to like glide slowly and stuff like that. And the whole feeling of just zipping around on the water, kind of windsurfing on your feet, essentially, is super fun. You run into storms on the ocean, and the ocean will like have these great big waves, and you can do tricks in the air and flips and stuff like that. There will be little progressions. It feels like the remains of an amusement park where you can, hook shot up to an object and use it to like push you down a chute and over a couple of jumps. And if you can chain a bunch of them together, you pick up just huge speed and you zip across giant chunks of the ocean. And they're like challenges for getting around. It's kind of the puzzle in the game in a lot of ways, is how many of these little speed challenges can I chain together to get across the ocean super fast. So they put a lot of work into the animation, into how good it feels to windsurf, essentially, and all of the big jumps and the couple of different jumps that you have to be able to get around, how the hook shot feels, all the little tells in the environment for where you can hook onto and zip up to, and what is meant to be sort of glidable and slidable, and eventually you get kind of into the flow of it, and it becomes super satisfying to be able to kind of chain all those things together and get through some of these bigger travel challenges.
Yeah, nice. I really like it when there's kind of a unique method of traversal like that. Just sounds like it's not really your typical thing.
Yeah, it was kind of what sold me on it, is that, like, you know, the characters look cool, and I was, it's maybe there's like a environmental parable to be told here, and that's kind of interesting from a video game perspective. But then the trailers just showed your main character in this game, Sigrid, just like surfing, just like flying across the ocean with streams coming up behind her and jumping in the air and doing flips and tricks and stuff like that. And there's big jumps that you can do. There's no fall damage. So you climb, you eventually get to like a lighthouse where you've got to flip a bunch of switches and, platform and get your way to the top and turn on the lighthouse. And then you can just jump from there into the water below. And she goes underwater for a little while, but then you can hit the shoulder button to like boost and pick up speed while you're underwater. And you can see her underwater with like fish swimming around her, and she zips up and like will break through the surf and then get on her feet and surf again to the next destination. And all of that just feels awesome. It feels so good. Like some developer somewhere for this little indie game put a ton of work into just how much polish went into the feeling of getting around in this game. That it makes the moments where you're like fighting off one after another of the big bug enemies, or just hopping from platform to flip yet another switch, the 50th switch that you flipped in the last 2 hours. All of that feels a little less exciting, a little more like lather, rinse, repeat. I don't know what it takes to make a video game. I've said that on the show before. I don't make video games. But clearly this feels like a lot of love was put into getting around, and maybe a little more attention should have been spent on, mission structure and variety, because those things start to feel very, very samey after a little while.
Are you in danger of like sinking underneath the water a lot of the time if you're not moving? Because that's sort of how I imagine it.
No, you if you can actually slow to a stop and just walk across the water if you want to. So there's not really even a threat to that, other than sort of the pirate enemies coming after you eventually.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're not ever in danger of drowning or anything like that.
For some reason, like I checked out some screenshots, and a lot of them are just her sort of skating along the surface, and it feels like if you stop, you would just like you go under.
Yeah,
which is terrifying. But sounds like it's not really. It sounds like it's only when you dive off a lighthouse or something that happens.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You only go under for a second. But the whole thing just feels very fluid and feels very, again, just very sort of polished and labored over. So much so that like the sense of speed in the game is so kind of exhilarating on the water that when you hop out of the water and you're on land, kind of walking around on foot, you're like, why am I going so slow? Is there a run button? How do I run around? And you can run around on land, and it feels a little more satisfying. But Sigrid is much more interesting when she's out skating across the water, going from island to island and objective to objective.
Yeah.
And like I said, when you find the big, long progression of broken amusement park parts, and you zip through all of those and slingshot your way over to the next one across a huge gap in the water, and spin the fishing net above your head to sort of slow yourself down so you land perfectly on the water slide, and zip through that. And all that stuff feels super fun, and it would make the game an easy recommendation. It's just unfortunately the kind of collect-a-thon switch flipping when you get to land is a little less satisfying and a little less fun.
Well, it's like in Just Cause 2. It's like, why would I take a car when I've got this grappling hook?
Yeah,
that's all I want to do.
Yeah, the grappling hook is like the best and worst thing that ever happened to Just Cause, because it just, you don't want to do anything else. And if you have a game that is filled with vehicles for you to drive, and I don't want to drive any of them because I just want to zip around with my grappling hook, and eventually you get a parachute, and that's combine those two things together, and you're like, why would I go any other way across the island?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually you had to do some stuff on foot, and it's not necessarily traversal.
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever I need to get from one island to the next, it's like, I could like hijack a car, could you even like hijack a plane, but for some reason I just felt like let's do the parachute thing again. That worked pretty well.
Or I can parachute up to the plane and like hijack it and yank the guy out and throw him in the ocean and fly his plane into the side of a mountain and then parachute out of it at the last second. And that is the best part. That is the gift of the Just Cause games, is all of that just sandbox fun. I would say Wavetale is not quite as open. It would be cool if this was like a massive budget game and it had the ability to sort of like really double down on all of that traversal stuff. But what is in the final product is very cool. It runs really well on the Switch. I didn't run into any issues. You would think kind of semi-open world, all this water, you being able to go from like very high places to very low places. There's no load screens once you get into the game, which is really cool too. All of it sort of happens on a single load. So again, I feel like a lot of polish and a lot of love went into getting this thing to run on a Switch. It's also on Xbox. It's also on PlayStation, et cetera, et cetera. So you can play it other places. But I'm having a good time with it. The characters are really funny. Everything's voice acted. So again, really sort of a nice little product here that would have put a lot of love and polish into. Your mileage may vary in terms of how satisfying you feel the kind of mission structure and the combat are. But just the act of getting around and zipping from island to island and going through all that fun traversal stuff is a blast.
Oh, that's cool. It's cool. Kind of also reminds me of Gravity Rush, because you spend a lot of time flying in that game, and similarly, whenever you have to come back down to Earth and walk around, it's a little disappointing.
Yeah,
and they're probably not going to make another one of those, so I'm like, maybe this would be fun.
Yeah, that dev doesn't exist anymore, do they? Right?
No, they kind of. I think that the lead on that went somewhere else, and then they shut down Japan studio.
Right.
So seems unlikely.
Yeah, this is cool. For me, this is a recommend. I don't need Bayonetta combat in my traversal game. I think I would like the mission structure to be a little more engaging. But the sheer act of getting around is satisfying enough and doesn't ever seem to get old. There is a progression to it too. You get different abilities kind of metered out to you over time. There's a currency in the game. And there's a boat that pulls up with a shop and you're like, oh, I wonder if I can do little upgrades and extras and stuff like that. But it's all cosmetic. Everything in there is like, you could change your hair, you could change your outfit, you could put a different jacket on her and stuff like that. So I've not been doing really much of any of that. I like dress up in a game, but it doesn't really seem to have any impact on the rest of it other than, oh, she's got pink hair now.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's cool. It's all right. It's a thing. It's another little extra, little thing to put a little time and attention into and to customize a character that you kind of like. But yeah, no, it's cool. It's a cool random little discovery. I don't know how much of this is, how much Wavetale is on a lot of people's radar. Certainly being on Stadia didn't maybe do it any favors in terms of visibility. Mm-hmm. So it's cool that it's kind of making its way to other platforms now, and folks like me can appreciate it.
So it just recently launched on outside of Stadia?
It came out in mid-February.
Okay.
For platforms that are not Stadia.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad. And I wasn't really, definitely not following Stadia very closely, so I didn't have a great picture of what sort of the indie exclusive scene on there was like. But it's good to see that games are escaping from that ecosystem.
Yeah. I think that was kind of the argument for Stadia early on, is that Google was cutting a bunch of deals with a bunch of different sort of indie studios for exclusive content. And I remember there being, not a long list of video games, but a handful of games that I was sort of like, oh, I'd love to play that. I don't have a Stadia though. That looks really cool. I don't have a Stadia though. And then, eventually all of those presumably would make it to other platforms.
Man, I think they were just handing those out at one point, weren't they? Probably could have gotten your hands on one.
Yeah, I mean, I have one. I have one in the house. I never bothered hooking it up.
What? So. Oh no! Wait, what's the story behind that?
Well, I'm deeply entrenched in the Google thing. So I'm Team Android. I've had first party Android phones and Google phones forever and ever. I had the very first Android phone, the G1 that Google ever put out.
So they were just like, send one to this guy.
Well, they have the Pixel Insiders, which is sort of like Google's most kind of ravenous fan base who just buys all their toys the first day they come out. So they had a deal once upon a time where, hey, if you pre-order, I forget what iteration they were up to, the Pixel 6, in advance of it coming out, you can get a Stadia controller with it. Google did a VR headset at one point that you drop your phone into. And one of the pre-order deals, I think, for the Pixel 5 was you get the VR headset for free. So I had some of these toys in the house. I still have the Stadia controller. I just never actually found the motivation to hook it up and do anything with it.
Oh, man, missed your chance.
Yeah. I mean, I can use it as a PC controller now, which is kind of cool. I have a PC controller that I probably still won't use, but...
Yeah. Does it work with the Steam Deck?
I don't know. That would be an interesting experiment.
Yeah.
I can't imagine why it wouldn't.
I don't know. We'll probably got Bluetooth or something in there.
Yeah. But yeah, never actually connected to the Stadia service.
Well, you and millions of other people.
Presumably, at least dozens of other people who bought.
Yeah, it's like you and most people, it turns out.
Not that guy who played 6,000 hours of Red Dead Redemption with the rest of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Hope that guy's doing okay.
So in summary, this game is called Wavetale. I'm playing it on the Switch. It's in the eShop. But I know it is on Xbox One and on the PlayStation 5. So if this sounds like fun to you, if you're looking for a big adventure game that doesn't put up too much of a fight and is a joy to just sort of, futz around in, check out Wavetale.
Cool. So I have an update on Ishin. Don't know what to call this game.
Like a Yakuza.
Just been calling it Yakuza. Because, it's a Yakuza game. That's how I think of it. Oh, so first of all, I have a minor correction from last week, which is that I have been using the terms feudal and the Edo period in Japan interchangeably, because I was just like, what do they call it when all the samurai were hanging out? But those are two different periods. Man, I've spent a lot of time on reading Wikipedia articles about Japanese history because of this game. I can't think of any other game that has caused me to spend this much time just doing research. It's very weird. Because on top of just the time periods, there are, I said last week, there are the different factions and sort of the origins and relationships between those that I didn't really understand starting out. So I'm just trying to just get caught up, get the crash course on 19th century Japan.
The Edo is right, isn't it? I think that's
the Edo is when this game takes
1800s?
place.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
When is feudal?
Feudal was before that, or at least that is my understanding. And so the Edo period is, and this is, don't take my word for this. Do your own Wikipedia research. But it was sort of when Japan started opening up to the West and modernizing. Or maybe that was after this? I can't get it straight. But it was the big conflict in this game is between the sort of shogunate forces and the imperial loyalists. There's also an interesting note because this is also when the ninja chapter in Live Alive takes place.
Oh.
In fact, there's a reference in that chapter to Ryoma Sakamoto, the protagonist in Yakuza Ishin. So, man, there's just... Imagine Japanese players are able to appreciate all the little nods more of this. They probably spent more time studying Japanese history than I have. But anyway, I just wanted to set that straight. I'm still trying to just educate myself. Because it's been a long time since 7th grade social studies or whatever.
Is the character you're playing as in Like a Dragon Ishin an actual historical figure?
Roughly. This is not meant to be a retelling of his story, I think. But some of the allegiances the actual historical figure had are mirrored in this in its own sort of weird Yakuza ways.
Oh, interesting.
So, don't play Yakuza Ishin and then go, write a report on Japanese history. You'll probably
Take
get
your
some.
AP history exam. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably not a good move.
That's
Maybe
interesting.
if it's multiple choice, maybe you'll do okay. But like, don't write an essay about it.
Yeah. Well, cool. That's like the, and I guess I didn't sort of think of it this way, but that's like the Assassin's Creed effect, where it's sort of like, oh, look, actual historical figures.
It is a little bit, and I feel like it probably. Well, I mean, Assassin's Creed wasn't exactly wasn't AP history material either.
Sure.
But generally, when you ran into like, who was it? It was like Leonardo da Vinci, right? In Assassin's Creed 2.
Yes, that sounds right.
He was like doing wacky inventor stuff. And I was like, okay, that's basically what he did, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, maybe it's the same sort of deal with Ryoma Sakamoto in this and all the other guys he runs into. But, I don't ask me about it. So anyway, correction out of the way. I've been trying to get more into the mini games on this. Last week, I was just trying to get like the story off to a start. And now I'm just like, okay, so now that that's sort of progressing, where are those mini games at? Where is the noodle shop that I couldn't get into the last time? And I found it, or at least I think I found it, because there are so many different little restaurants you can visit in this game. But I found this the udon shop because one of the, like if you watch the mini games trailer for this, one of the ones that is featured prominently shows Ryoma / Kiryu or whatever his name is, serving up bowls of noodles for customers at the noodle shop. And I was like, that's the one I want to play. And I found a guy who's like selling all this udon. And last week I said, he sold me one, but he wouldn't let me play any sort of mini game. And I just figured, oh, okay, probably have to work on this a little bit because almost everybody, like all the main NPCs you talk to in this, have a little reputation meter that increases the more interactions you have with them. So I figured, oh, okay, so I bet once I fill up this reputation meter, that's going to get me the udon shop mini game. So that's what I had to start working on. So typically these fill up as you progress through the game. So by the end of the game, you're probably, maybe you've maxed out a couple of reputation meters on some of the NPCs, or the ones you end up spending more time with. But in this case, I was like, I want this thing maxed out now so I can play the mini game. How am I going to do that? Probably by buying more noodles at the shop. So I just started doing that, and I ordered another bowl of noodles, and the meter went up like 2 or 3 pixels. And I thought, okay, well, this is going to be a real endeavor getting this thing all the way filled up.
How many noodles can I eat in a day?
Yeah, so I just kept on ordering these noodles. And fortunately for me, I had already purchased, because, I'm a veteran Yakuza player. I know one of the first upgrades you need to get for your character is the bottomless stomach, which lets you just order as many dishes as you want at a restaurant.
What?
Because typically, the reason you go to these restaurants, like from a practical standpoint, is it restores your health that you've lost in street fights and everything. And usually you get one dish and like a drink and you're good. Like it refills the whole meter. But most of these restaurants still have like 6 or 7, sometimes like way more dishes available on the menu. And at the start of the game, it doesn't let you order more dishes than would like max out your health. Because I don't know why. Because it's like not necessary to do that. Like you wouldn't order every single thing off the menu at a restaurant anyway. So because there's a bit of realism involved. But for whatever reason, they offer this like bottomless stomach upgrade, which lets you just keep on ordering things even though you're full already. Which is great. Like in the other games, sometimes there's like different points you can earn for just ordering tons of dishes, or like ordering every single thing off the menu at every restaurant. I think will unlock upgrades in previous Yakuza games. But in this one, I was just like, okay, well maybe once I get this, I'll just order every like bowl of udon on the menu and just do that repeatedly until I max out this reputation meter. So I just started doing that. Just like go into the restaurant, click off every single box on the menu. He sits down and like eats 4 bowls of noodles. And so I just kept repeating this over and over, trying to figure out, like, am I getting a better bonus if I order one at a time? Like, does it matter if I order like all the noodles at once, but I just ended up doing that. I probably ordered like 50 bowls of noodles in essentially one sitting. So I would just get up and immediately sit back down again. And eventually I filled up the reputation meter, and the proprietor says, "Oh, so now that you're one of my regulars, I have a special deal for you." And I thought, aha, here comes the mini game. And so I say, "Okay, yeah, give me the special deal. I want to hear what that's all about." And he says, "I've invented a new dish for you to have." And I thought, okay, this doesn't sound like a mini game, but let's get the special dish. And he's like, "Oh, here it is. It's udon with beef on it." And he gives it to me, and I eat it. And he's like, thanks for being such a loyal customer. Come back anytime." And I was like, "That's it? Like, where's the mini game? What happened to this whole thing that they showed in the trailer? Do I have to do something else to unlock that?" And it turns out there's another udon shop all across town.
Ah.
And that's where the mini game is. So I just spent like half an hour, and I don't know how much out of my wallet, just consuming bowl after bowl of noodles. Unfortunately, there's no like detrimental effects to eating once you have this upgrade, but it probably looked kind of silly to all the onlookers, just this guy putting down bottomless noodles for some reason. Just get the special udon.
I mean, your first mistake was assuming there was only one noodle shop in Japan.
Well, see, here's the thing. There was another one right on the corner from this one. I thought, well, so this one doesn't have the reputation meter that goes up, so obviously nothing's happening here.
Oh, interesting.
So it was like a red herring noodle shop, so I went back to this other one.
Fooled you.
Yeah, but it turns out, yet another noodle shop all the way across town. So as soon as I figured that, I was like, oh, time to go eat some more noodles. So I headed over there, and lo and behold, you order one bowl, and he's like, "Hey, how would you like to help me out help me run the shop?" And I was like, "Oh, well, that was significantly less effort than I was putting in at the other place. So let's give it a try."
How many bowls of noodles did you have to eat to get access to running the shop?
Just one. And he was like, I don't know what the deal was. He was he just struck up a conversation with Ryoma, sort of like did this little dance. Wasn't really a dance. I'm not going to spoil it, but he like threw his back out and suddenly needed you to take over for him. But then he just lets you run the noodle shop during the lunch rush. But much to my disappointment, it's a very simple mini game. It's really just like memorizing buttons. It's like Simon, basically. So that was very anticlimactic. It's weird because the way they present it is they show you the 4 different types of udon you can order, and they're all topped with different ingredients. And I was expecting this whole thing where like a customer would come in and be like, "Oh, I want like a boiled egg or something on it, or I want the tempura," and you have to pick the right thing off the menu. But no, they just say the thing. They just say the name of the item, or they show you which button to press, and you have to press all of them in the right order as the customers come in. But it's very, very simplistic, and it has the actual thing they're ordering has very little bearing on what you have to do in the minigame.
Oh.
So that was, a little disappointing noodle minigame. But what was not disappointing was the chicken racing. Chicken racing is yet another minigame in this, and I don't know what your expectations around a chicken racing minigame are. I assumed it was, you go to this chicken racing hall or whatever, and maybe you bet on a chicken or two. You put some money down, like this is the one that's going to come in first, and then you watch them race and you get your payout or whatever.
That's pretty close to what my sort of brain envisions when you propose chicken racing.
Yeah. But oh no, it's like an actual like racetrack betting simulation. Like, I don't know how much time you spent at the racetrack, but I walked into this place and they're like, "Oh yeah, so buy some tags to wager on these chickens or whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then they show you the line of the chickens. They sort of give you an idea of like, there's some way to tell So what their personality and like their different attributes are, because that affects their performance in the race. But then when you actually sit down to bet, it makes you place like actual, like what I assume are actual like horse racing bets. So you can place a bet on the winner, but then you can also place bets on combinations of like, the first and second place, or you can bet on, the top two no matter what order they're in, or you can just go down and bet the order that all five come in. And then you can look at all these sort of like predetermined bets. There's like a whole wall of them if you switch the screen over, and they'll show you the odds on each one. And I was like, this is way more intricate than I was expecting. I was just expecting to come in here and hit a button. I was not expecting, like, you could spend the entire afternoon just losing all your money on chicken racing. It'll show you like the length of the race, and that is supposed to, you're supposed to be able to glean which chickens are going to perform better, because, maybe some of them are like a sprinter chicken and the other ones have better endurance or whatever. So they're not going to do as well in a long race versus a short race. It's insane. And eventually I get to the point where, I bet on one. I don't remember if he won or not, but it was so overwhelming to just see this wall of possible tags you could bet on that I just picked the option where you just watch the race happen. So no money is involved. You're just there for the afternoon to just watch the chickens go around the track.
Just as a spectator.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's just a silly thing to watch at that point. Like, the chickens just sort of stroll around the track, very orderly, very, very well-trained chickens, it seems like. I was expecting a little more chaos to be involved.
Chickens are very smart.
Yeah. But, just... it's a nice break from everything else happening in this game to just spend a few minutes at the chicken track, I suppose.
Did you eventually put money down, or were you just there for a show?
I think I'm leaning towards just being there for the show.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you could make some money off this thing, but I don't really know how much time I want to invest into just learning all the individual chicken racers involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could really, really get into this. It's almost like the business management minigame in Yakuza 7, where you're like, I don't know what your expectations are going to that, but it is extremely complicated.
Oh, yeah.
But that was like the flagship minigame for that. This is like chicken racing is, I get the sense that it's not like, there's all the other minigames in Yakuza 7, and then there's the business management game is its own thing. But it's not like, chicken racing is the sole, like the flagship minigame of this thing. It is just another minigame that exists. It's more involved than the udon minigame, but I don't know. I'm not a huge, like, race better, if that wasn't clear.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of, maybe some more luck involved than I would want there to be. Yeah, to a certain degree with the management game in Yakuza 7, I felt like I got it. I knew what I was supposed to do. Like, there wasn't like a push button to win kind of proposal to that, but like you could glean enough information to be able to sort of steer it in the right direction. Mm-hmm. What you're proposing just really sounds like luck.
Well, you gotta, really familiarize yourself with the chickens.
Right.
Like, you come back in and you'll be like, oh, they're all named after like food or like chicken puns, essentially. So like one of them was the Colonel. So it's like, oh man, I got a good feeling about the Colonel today, so I'm gonna put a bunch of money down on him. He's the right type of chicken for this race. Mm. But it does seem
I
like,
appreciate a good chicken pun.
Sure, of course. It's kind of dismaying how, I mean, there are some that are not food related, but one of the lineups, they were just all clearly, one of them was named like Broth Baby.
No, jeez.
Like, that's weird. Another one was, I think it's just Dinner Time, which is like, well, pretty on the nose. But I feel like, if you do spend enough time at the racetrack sort of learning how these chickens work, you could stand to make a significant profit off these things. Because, like, man, if you pick the top 5 in order that they finish, it's like 100 to 1 payout.
Oh, wow.
So, it's not for amateur chicken betters, but spend enough time there, you may do well for yourself.
You can make some serious scratch.
Yeah,
which is also a chicken pun.
Yeah, no, I got it. That's good.
Okay, thank you.
There's so many mini games in this. I don't even know. Like, I'm still trying to find the one where I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going to make all the money. I don't know if it's chicken racing, but I just unlocked a farm as well, so that usually turns into something.
There is a point usually in big adventure games where I find myself Googling, how do I make the most amount of money in a short period of time? Or like a Yakuza situation, how do I get the most XP in a short period of time? Right. How do I grind, essentially? So, it feels like, particularly with something like a Yakuza game, that there are a lot of sort of avenues to that. The management sim was really good for money and for XP, but the odds were not in your favor. You definitely had the potential to also lose a ton of money. And not quite end up where you wanted to be. So it was, it's a tough proposition sometimes for some of these things. I don't know. I've sat through a lot of tedious media games and things just trying to, scratch out a little XP sometimes. But I feel like to a degree I want to be able to master these things after a little while and like, okay, well, I could just spend 10 minutes playing in the batting cages and make $1 million.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's fine if you just want to play a fun mini game, like you're really into it. I was really hoping the udon thing would be that. I wasn't expecting to get rich playing that. But, this has the karaoke bar thing. There's another one that is just like Kiryu does a bunch of fan dances while this old Japanese music plays, which is really good. I really feel like, I hope this is the case, but it feels to me like the developers on this are just having way more fun than other sort of AAA level game developers. And I say that I hope that's the case because I hope it's not like, the executives at Sega are just, cracking the whip, trying to get them to put in yet another zany mini game into this thing. But I hope it's like somebody thought, well, wouldn't it be hilarious if Kiryu did a fan dance and then we designed this incredibly intricate like rhythm mini game around it. But, that's basically Yakuza for you. I was talking about how easy it is to get distracted from the main storyline. But I feel like if you went through one of these games and you only did the main storyline, then you're kind of missing the point. Because I think they're best enjoyed if you just live in it for a while. Like, maybe someday you do some of the story quests. Maybe the next day you just fish the entire afternoon, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the hard part of my time with Yakuza 7 is that I so desperately wanted to make progress, but I kept getting like roped in. I would go past some new business or some new neighborhood, and as the game sort of reveals itself and you get access to more and more of the city, excuse me, it was sort of like, oh, there's arcades here? What's this thing? That betting parlor? Like, there was just so much stuff that there were long chunks of that game where I felt like I was doing nothing to move the story forward. And I was just sort of like, what is even going on? What was I supposed to do? What was the last thing I was doing 6 days ago when I started playing poker? It can be a lot. It can be very overwhelming. And your theory is not wrong. I think, if you're going into this going, okay, well, I'm going to spend the next 100 hours of my life at least devoted to the Yakuza experience, then you're good. But my thing is always like, how do I get to the next game? How do I get to, like, I've got a stack of games calling my name. This other one that I want to play comes out next week. I need to finish this. And it's real hard to feel like you're making progress in something like this.
Yeah. That is one criticism I have about these is that, given that there is so much stuff to do, I feel like the main campaign especially could be trimmed down quite a bit. And I even feel like they could do that without upsetting those weird people who only play the main campaign. Because it's just so long to begin with. Yeah. But I don't know. A lot of people get excited when they announce a new Persona game that's like, oh, this one's 200 hours long. And Disgaea will let you get to level 10,000 or whatever they're up to. Ugh. So, I don't know. I just feel like, I want to take in everything or most of the things that this game has to offer and get through the campaign at some point. But it's a lot. It's quite an undertaking. Yeah. But anyway, man, disappointed about that noodle game. I'm not sure what is going to step up to fill its spot.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine you've seen just a portion of what's in there. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I was just scouring the map trying to find all the noodle shops. And in the process, I was just like, okay, so there's like a shogi parlor. There's some kind of there's like a bathhouse. I don't even know if that's a mini game. There's like all these other sort of attractions on the map that I'm just having to sort of breeze through in order to find the noodle shop. And I will revisit all of them later on. But man, there's just, so much going on in this game.
Yeah. Nice. Well, good times. I'm glad you're sticking with it.
Yeah, yeah. Someday I'll get back to the main campaign, see what's going on.
All right. Well, we should wrap this thing up. Excuse me again.
I gotta go see how my farm's doing. I gotta go get that started. that I feel like that's where the money is going to come from. Like the farm is usually pretty profitable.
Has there been a farm in the Yakuza game before? That seems like a very un-Yakuza thing.
Has there been a farm? I think. Now that you mentioned, I don't remember. I thought there was some sort of gardening happening in Yakuza 3, but I didn't spend a lot of time with the mini games in that. To my point earlier, after I finished that game, I was kind of disappointed in myself. I was just like, I should have done more of the side stuff in this. I feel like I really blasted through that one.
I just feel like it's very trendy to have a farm in your video game these days.
Yeah, no, I can't remember. It just feels like it's so plausible that there was a farm. There was a farm, like a really prominent farm in Nier. And I was just like, why was there a farm in that? You didn't need this at all.
Yeah. It's, most of the Yakuzas take place in a city, so not a lot of farming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one's a little more rural, so
right.
Maybe it makes a little more sense.
They found a way to get karaoke.
Oh, yeah.
In what did we decide? Into Edo period Japan. So there's got to be a way to get a farm into 2023.
They have a silly name for it. It's like the song bar or something. I don't know. It's not called a karaoke bar, but
interesting.
They're just like, I'm trying out this new thing. People get up on the stage and sing songs, and it's going to be great.
This will really catch on.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to wrap it up. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. Make sure you go there. You can find out when DJ is going to be streaming his wacky assortment of indie games.
Yeah, whenever that happens.
Yeah. You can always get show notes and links about this episode. Tell us what you thought at VGHangover.com. We would love for you to join us on Discord. You can hang out with us and chat about video games and other fun things. You can get a link to that at VGHangover.com as well. And we would encourage you to subscribe, rate, and review us on your podcasting app of choice. And maybe help us out by telling your friends about the show.
Yeah. Give us a good rating on that Stadia podcast app. Or, maybe one of the other ones. That would be more helpful. We want to give thanks again to Carl Brueggemann for our intro and outro music this week. If you'd like, you can go to Carl with a K. No, that's not right. carlbmusic.bandcamp.com, spelled with a K. Check out the rest of his discography. Maybe download an album or two.
Excellent. We'll be back next week. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.